Welcome. I'm Lisa Long, a certified Anusara teacher in Florida, USA. Let's explore awe-inspiring meditation as an instinctive, life-changing magic power with Dr. Lorin Roche and Camille Maurine. This dynamic couple has been practicing and teaching meditation for over 50 years. They are the authors of several well-loved books, including the Radiance Sutras, which is Lorin's poetic contemporary translation of the Jnana Bhairava Tantra. As well, they've also authored other books, including Meditation Secrets for Women and Meditation Made Easy. It was such a delight when Dr. Roche joined the Anusara yoga community in Estes Park, Colorado in the fall of 2023. He joined us for Samudra Shakti, the yoga retreat, where he presented an intensive called the Radiance Sutras experience. Anusara School of Hatha Yoga enjoys an affiliate relationship, which is a professional business designation, with Lorin and Camille's meditation school called Radiance Sutras School of Meditation. They're offering an online training beginning in a few weeks. To get the details on the training, I'll drop the link for that in the chat a little bit later for everybody who's here live on Zoom. If you're watching the recording, I'll put it in the description. You can also see the link with the details up on the screen. So welcome, Lorin and Camille. I'm so glad that you're here with us. I'm going to stop the screen share and let's get started with our meditation class.
Thanks, Lisa.
Yeah, we're so happy to be with you and your community here. I love seeing everybody.
So we've been exploring the path of intimacy and the tantric practices that support a couple to stay in fresh perception, to stay renewed, recharged, as much as possible, not bring the stress of the world into the relationship, but rather give time to practice to let these exquisite classical yoga practices tune up our nerves and senses so that we can stay in love and stay happy, so we have more to give each other. So we've been doing this for 40 some years. How many? 41?
Well, we've been together for 41 and we each had our own paths before that. And when we met, then there was so much overlap and understanding that we began to co-create, not to mention being in a love partnership.
So why don't you show the book, Meditation Secrets for Women?
Okay, they saw that. And Lisa's thing. Yeah. So at one point, Lorin suggested that we write a book for women, and that it was a beautiful journey between us. There's so much experiential wisdom in that, not only from my own experience and his experience with teaching women, but from being with many, many women over the years. And of course, a lot of the secrets there apply to all gender.
So what we're sharing is the stuff that the practices that we do all day, every day, and actually all night, to keep the flow of love alive and fresh and cultivate. And a lot of the practices are things you do like in a formal thing, like, okay, I'm going to sit down and meditate for 40 minutes, or I'm going to dance or do yoga and then meditate or take a nap. And many of them are like invisible inner practices that one does for like just a half a second, perceiving the other person or in the middle of an energy, a mood, to grab that and jump in and steer it. So these are the practices that we do all day, the last 41 years together. So that's what we're sharing. And it so happens that these are talked about in the Tantra literature. It so happens that actually, they're all classical. And it's actually the nature of yoga that it's eternal, that you can feel on one level, you can feel it going back, like the asanas, just it feels like they've always existed. There's something immortal about them, and at the same time creative. And this is one of the miraculous things about yoga. It's traditional and innovative. So it's past and future. And actually the word para, that Sanskrit word para, means past and future. So,
and when we say the path of intimacy, it means that primordial connection, that primordial awareness that we are intrinsically woven into the larger body of the cosmos, of this universe, very nitty-gritty right here on Earth. That with every breath, which is an action, breathing is that flow. And that's why so many practices over the millennia have been based on that flow, because it's that totally intimate receiving life, receiving love, receiving support and connection, and then flowing back out, releasing what is no longer needed, but also giving to the larger world around us. And, this very tangible, natural reality of giving back to the green growing things all over the planet. So the path of intimacy, what does it feel if you just take a breath yourself right now? What is it to be intimate? First of all, with myself, with all of the energies that flow through me, with everything that's in my heart, every one that I'm holding in my heart, all that we care about, all that matters, all of our field of connection and communication. Your students, your community, your family, your friends. There's so many threads of connection and communication that we're continually weaving together. The way that Tantra in its essence means weaving.
and the hand motions you're making are like weaving the threads of prana shakti, like the threads of prana of currents.
And the way that actually embodying is a huge part of our instinctive meditation, is having embodied practices, which about. And so taking that deeper in the skills and the art of being able to feel and touch and listen and sense the way that the life force is calling us every single day, every minute, any breath, when I pause to feel the wonder, I am alive. You are alive.
We're alive. They're alive. We're all alive. It's shocking. How did this happen?
It's so potent, so powerful, so deeply moving and evolutionary. The way that we're in this evolutionary dance together.
Camille sometimes walks around going, how does anything exist?
Yeah.
How does anything exist?
Really?
Which is actually pretty much what the goddess asks at the beginning of the Vijnana Bhairava Tantra. Like, how does anything exist? What the heck, Bhairava? Like, who? What's happening?
What is this world into which we find ourselves born? What are these energies pulsing everywhere within us and around us? Yeah.
Which is a teaching unto itself, that it's okay to wonder And that's actually the foundation of practice, is to set yourself free, to wonder and ask questions, interrogate God, bother God, like, hey, what about this and what about that?
Yeah.
It's okay to question everything.
So that sense of embracing our senses, all of the senses, and there are many more than the standard ones that we all know. Embracing all of the energies that arise, all of the emotions. How do I move with the movement of emotion, the motion of emotion? How do I feel all that is going on in my body? This, on the subtle sensing. We're always continually unfolding. There's no static endpoint, no perfection, except the perfection of this orchestration going on within me and around me all the time. So there's that giving oneself that level of freedom, that level of tapping into your own current of wisdom. And yes, that sense of everything pulsing within me, every cell, every fiber of my nerves, all this magnificent instrument that I am. And knowing that it actually requires deep tuning, continually, always unfolding. So that's that's the kind of practice that we love to invite people ever more deeply into, because it's always, like I said, unfolding. There's no, okay, I'm done, as far as I can tell, which is exciting, lively.
There's a set of attitudes that we cultivate that are all related to the word Tantra. So Tantra, because this is the magic of Sanskrit, that these words have such a wide, what's called a semantic field, with many metaphors. So the first image of Tantra is a loom. And if you've ever seen people weaving on a loom, so Tantra, the word tan has to do with the stretch, to extend. And you can see how that relates to asana practice, where we're, extending into a pose. And with weaving, what a loom is say a wooden frame usually, and then you stretch strings or threads between them. And so the one of the meanings of Tantra is framework. It's a framework for putting tension on the threads or the strings. And so there's weaving of fabric, and probably a lot of what you're wearing right now was woven on a loom. And there's weaving of music. That's a guitar or a sitar, a violin, a cello, bass. It's the same principle of a wooden frame, and then you run some strings. And so the metaphors here for practice are like what Camille was saying, the weaving together body, mind, and soul, weaving together the fabric of our life, and also tuning. Because whenever we relax, whenever we give ourselves time, one of the places attention goes is towards the tension in our life, whatever is tense, whatever is on our to-do list that's late, whatever tension we have with the people that we love. This is where attention goes naturally. And on the path of intimacy, we allow attention to go there and tune the tension. It's not mind want. There's no such thing as mind wandering when we're talking about the path of intimacy. It's if we're meditating and I start worrying about my daughter or my horse or a friend that I had a disagreement with, then that tension is calling for my attention. And all these words, Tantra, tension, attention, intention, these are all related. This is all part of the same field of meaning.
So when you say tender acceptance, tenderness, that 10, is what Lorin is describing, and that
Yeah, and over in the Mediterranean area, instead of using ton like in Tantra, it's 10 instead of it's TEN. And we use that sound constantly. Attention,
tenderness,
tending,
attending.
tender.
Yeah, attention.
Yeah, it's the same.
And tendon, did I say that?
Tendon, no, you didn't. Good point.
Yeah, and that sense that the tendons are kind of holding things together, but with resilience,
And
the tension, how do I
tension.
tend to the tensions within me?
Tenderly tend to tension.
Yeah, but that sense, Lisa, of getting used to what it feels like, that tender acceptance, because we've all, well, maybe I shouldn't use such a unanimous term, but so many of us have been, taught and instilled with perfectionist ideals. And in the meditation world, we learn, like first graders, learn how to make a sentence and what writing is and so forth. So there's some foundational ways that we're being informed. But then to increase the artistry, to be able to come to meet whatever my experience with that tenderness, the wildest emotions, the most, the sorrow, the grief, the excitement, the care, what we care about. We hold so much within us and in our body psyche, and it's glorious. It's astonishing, this capacity we have for awareness. So with what touch am I coming to meet myself in this glorious, brave adventure of being alive, of caring, of sharing what is mine to share, as I know you all are doing? Oh, actually, let's take a few breaths with this and maybe feel, just even bringing your own loving hands anywhere to your own magnificent form, your own percolating, brilliant energies, connecting everything, receiving, updating, evolving. This body, this miracle that we call embodied awareness. Oof. The way we can embrace ourselves. That way that we have this capacity for awareness that can be sort of in both roles of the one being held and the one who is holding. And the astonishing thing about human consciousness, that we can come to meet with awareness. And how that feels, this actual touch, signaling throughout your entire nervous system, your entire being, body. Tender acceptance, wonder, freedom. And that kind of intrinsic wisdom. So part of what we offer you know, coming to meet ourselves and tuning in to what is that indwelling wisdom of the soul. Even a simple gesture like this, like my hands always fly to my upper chest and my belly simultaneously, so that's a good one. Mudra. We can feel that flow. We can feel our heartbeat. We can feel our diaphragm engaging with that life flow we call breathing. We can feel how the earth is right here beneath us, always support and foundation. Just noting in this brief touch in, what is your experience? And that tender transitional moment when we dilate open again to what is around us.
What's around?
You know, wow, who are you?
Yeah, fresh perception.
Who are you?
Yeah, we all know what it's like when, say we go away on a trip and come back home and we're just so glad to see everybody, so glad to see our home. And this is one of the major gifts of meditation practice, is that deep reboot, a deep renewal.
Mm.
So that was such a great flow.
It just happens. Yeah.
Being in Colorado at Estes Park with the Anusara community was mind-blowing for me, because I was there in 1970 at that exact spot at the YMCA camp with their Bibles and their little sayings and their log cabins and really nice, very, very clean, basic hotel rooms for my meditation teacher training. And I've been meditating for a couple of years and in teacher training, different aspects of it for a year and a half, as well as being involved in a scientific research on meditation at the University of California. And while I was there, the rishis, the Vedic chanters from India would chant the Rig Veda each night. And then they would go into the meaning of the individual Sanskrit words. And they actually spent days with each syllable. So the first word of the first mandala of the Rig Veda is Agni. And they, after chanting it, and they would chant the whole mandala every night. And then they would talk about Ah for days, and then Ga, and then Ni. And meanwhile, we were all meditating all day, basically from the time we woke up until dinner time. We would do asana, a full flow of asana, and then pranayama, and then meditate. And I meditated usually for 30 to 40 minutes, and then asana, pranayama, meditation, it's called a round. We would do that over and over again all day. And then at night, listen to the Vedas being chanted. And the rishis were very formal when they chanted, and then once they ended, they would sit around laughing and improvising. And one of the things they said that blew my mind, there's many like formal distancing, weird sounding translations of the Vedas. And they were talking and bantering back and forth and talked about this phrase, Agni Mile. And then they said, Agni is adorable. And it's like the world changed for me. It's adorable. There's such a feeling there. And so in my training, I got to enter Sanskrit one syllable at a time and feel it in my body while meditating 7 or 8 hours a day and doing asana. So it's connecting with the sound vibration and learning one phrase and like drinking it, letting it, entering the massage of it, just feeling it, and then transcending with it, going from the spoken word like ah to the subvocal, just hearing it inside, to feeling the almost not quite audible thought, where it's sort of a hum and the almost thought, and maybe with an image, a luminosity to it, and then the silence underneath where thoughts come from, playing in that way. And in my research that I was doing at UC Irvine, University of California at Irvine, starting in 1968, I just would listen to meditators for hours a day and interview and take notes. We would meditate together, and I'd say, what did you just experience, or what are you experiencing? And so I was letting people, in a sense, speak from the body. And this was in parallel with the physiological research that we were doing. And so in my body, in my practice, I was educated by listening to meditators of all kinds speaking live about just whatever they're experiencing. The physiological research, which shows that meditation, even the simplest meditation practice, can allow the body to rest deeper than deep sleep. This was studied extensively at Harvard, UCLA, and somewhat at UC Irvine, where I was going to school. And this rest recovery response is effortless, like it just happens naturally. And the person meditating might even just feel normal, like, oh, I feel a little bit relaxed. But with all the meters and measurements, that, well, look, the person's in a state of rest deeper than deep sleep, and this happened in 3 minutes. So that's all fully established science and been replicated for 50 years. So at the time, though, in 1968, 70, it was fairly new. And the sweet note, the bullet point from all that research is that what we call meditation and this whole world of yoga techniques that are in the effortless realm, these are ways of accessing a basic human instinct that we all have. It's part of our survival instincts, a way of accessing rapid recovery and deep recharging. And so, of course, nature would put in our bodies this powerful ability to recover and release stress, retune and recharge. And physiologically, all of the indexes of what happens when we're stressed, all of the blood chemistry changes, brainwave changes, heart rate changes, muscle tension changes, that's all been mapped out extensively all over the world for decades by scientists. And it turns out that what we call meditation, it activates a response that's the mirror opposite of the stress response. Now, what's complicated here in practice is that when we're meditating, the body quickly goes into relaxation and restfulness, and then it begins to release stress. And So while we're being at ease, just enjoying our breathing or enjoying a mantra, and the more luscious a practice, the better. While we're doing that, that's the doorway into the healing state. And the body-mind system then is dissolving tension and retuning, not just releasing tension like a drug would, but actually the nervous system sort of scientifically retunes each item. And so in what we feel might be a really busy mind, like we might feel like we're in the middle of 10 movies, as our nervous system is processing all of the outer and inner challenges that we're facing. And this interior practice where the nervous system is practicing being more poised, more aligned with itself, more at ease in the midst of our daily challenges. This is all going on during meditation. So we'll be meditating and it's like immersed in the movies of our to-do lists and the people. And then suddenly it's over and we're inside the mantra or inside the relief of breathing again. And so handling this like spontaneous therapy, we could say, is actually the challenging part of meditation, like learning to trust that this is good and natural, because it happens to everyone.
That was great that you explained all of that, the history and foundation of why this approach is so.
That's why I was saying all that. So
and
so all of this together, because I started meditating in a physiology lab, all this together has trained me to listen to Sanskrit as a song of embodied experience.
There you go.
And so when I'm like reading Sanskrit and looking at the full definition of a word, I'll notice when right there in the dictionary, they're giving embodiment clues. Like in this sutra, this verse that we're about to play with. So let's shift from like being a passive audience or like to playing, because you probably have fun playing with Sanskrit. So the verse here, now the Vijnana Bhairava Tantra, it comes to us in these little verses that are metrically structured. So it's each one is 32 syllables. And you right here, there wasn't room on the page to divide it up into 4. I made each one 2 lines, but it's better to approach it as 4 segments of 8 syllables each. So let's play with the sound before we read my version, what I did with it. Pranava, pranava. Let's feel into that word. If you know the sound. Prana and va, pranava, pranava. And just notice what does that word taste like, feel like, delight like for you right now. Pranava. Adi. Pranava. Adi. Samuchara. And that's a familiar sound, the ooh. Samuchara. Utante. Utante. Shunya.
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 Bhavana. Shunya ya.
Shunya.
So there's shunya again. Shunya ya. Paraya. There's that word para, Shunyaya. Paraya. Shaktya. And there's that word Shakti. Shunyaya. Paraya. Shaktya. Shunyatam. There's Shunya, third time. Shunyatam. Eti Bhairavi. And Bhairavi is the female version of Bhairava. And they're always inseparable. They're like two sides of a coin, or two. Shunyatam eti Bhairavi. Pranava adi samutra. Utante shun ba.
The roar of joy
That set the worlds in
that
motion.
set the worlds in
That
motion.
set the worlds in motion.
The roar of joy that set the worlds in motion.
All right, just go ahead and stand.
All right.
One of my jobs is
And you're
Is to make-
invited to move with it
to
as
make
well.
room for Camille to dance. The roar of joy.
The roar of joy that set the worlds in motion.
Is
It's
reverberating
reverberating
in your body and the space between all bodies.
the space, shunya, the space between all bodies.
All bodies. Beloved,
Beloved,
beloved, listen.
listen.
Beloved, listen.
Beloved, listen.
Find that exuberant vibration.
Find that exuberant vibration
Find that exuberant vibration.
rising fresh in every moment.
Rising fresh.
That's the
Yeah.
thing. Fresh in
Fresh.
every moment.
One of the meanings of pranava is fresh, that which is always rising fresh. The Om sound, that's the primordial energy of creation that's rising fresh everywhere and every moment. Find that exuberant vibration, rising new, fresh in every moment. Humming in your secret places.
Oh, yes. Humming in your secret places.
Humming. Resounding.
Resounding.
Resounding through the channels of delight.
Resounding through the channels of delight.
No, you are flooded.
No,
by
you
it.
are flooded by it always.
No, you are flooded by it always.
Always.
Float with the sound.
Float.
Melt with it into divine silence. Araya, Shakya. The sacred power of space. The sacred power.
The sacred power of space
Will carry you.
Will carry you
Into the dancing, radiant emptiness.
into the dancing, radiant.
That is the source of all. The ocean of sound.
The ocean of sound. Ocean of sound.
The ocean is inviting you into its spacious embrace, calling you home. Calling you home.
Us home.
Calling us.
Calling me home. Calling us home.
Pranava. Adi. Samuchara. To whisper to me. Pranava.
Pranava Adi Samuchara.
Plutanti.
Plutanti.
Shunya.
Bhavan.
Shunyaya.
Shunyaya.
Parya.
Parya.
Shaktya.
Shaktya.
Shunyatam.
Shunyatam.
Iti Bhai.
Eti Bhairavi. I'm just feeling what is moving, flowing, rising in you.
That's a good idea. Just breathe, take a moment to feel.
And feeling, once again, that tenderness with yourself, with your experience. The tenderness that allows energy to flow ever more freely. So that way that life is always calling us to unfold, to evolve, to go deeper, to become more natural and free as we're designed for. The way that each of us, isn't it astonishing? Individuals, and yet we have this commonality together, but individual, unlike any other, really, in essence. I mean, in this expression.
Now, there's a million ways to interpret Sanskrit. And it's intentionally that way. It has a quality called polysemy, where there's many layers of meaning for each word. And so it invites wordplay. And that over the thousands of years, there's whole lineages and traditions of interpretation. Now, I first met the Vijnana buyer of Tantra in 1968, actually in the physiology lab where I was working. And to me, immediately, the text is so friendly. It's like simultaneously a Labrador retriever, just like that emanating love. It's the goddess saying, "Hey, let's dance." It's an ocean wave wanting to be ridden. It's a horse coming up and saying, "Hey, jump on and ride." It's music wanting to be listened to. The text to me has always been immensely friendly and playful and utterly like succinct and to the point. Like, come on in. It's okay. Come on in, dive in. So I call the Radiance Sutras a version, because I myself I would do 10, 50, even 100 different we could call them translations or versions of each verse. And then Camille would come out in the morning. I write standing right over there and dancing around, starting at 4 in the morning. Camille would come out typically at 9 in the morning, and the whole floor is covered with just dozens of different ways of flowing through the Sanskrit, like just one verse of 32 syllables. And Camille would pick the ways that most resonate, that have Shakti, that evoke the experience of the practices involved.
Mm-hmm.
So we actually co-created. She just didn't want her name on the book.
No.
She refused.
It's your beautiful offering.
Yeah, but she danced of say the 50 to 100 very different ways of going through each verse.
Yeah.
Camille picked the ones that resonate with.
Well, let me just say that we are both living in deep energy awareness from all of our practices over, for myself, just to give you a little tiny glimpse. I began as a dancer. It was a surprise to me because I'd been a very philosophical, studying philosophy and psychology and kind of a geek. But I discovered dance and theater I'd always been in. And that opened the world to me. And from there, I began meditating and doing yoga at the same time. This is in the early 70s. And so over these years, I've studied many embodied practices and Jungian psychology. I still, was very immersed in that. And something called continuum, very subtle, beautiful way of addressing the depths in the nervous system in an evolutionary fashion, and so forth and so on. And, created kinesthetics, dance yoga, and something I call moving theater of the soul, just ways of letting the energies have expression. And I was also trained as a body worker. I'm not sure I said that. So I say that briefly to give you an understanding of how, when Lorin and I got together, there was this complementarity. And his use of the word instinctive really caught my attention as a very wise way of describing this internal intelligence and creativity that is everywhere within us. And how do we cooperate with that? How do we set that free? How do we let it nourish every cell, every fiber? How do we bring that into, that deeper intimacy and being able to live and express what matters to us so deeply? So that's the invitation here. Lisa?
Yes, that is an invitation. So I have had the pleasure of studying with Lorin and Camille, both at the 200-hour level for meditation training and as well at the advanced level, the 300-hour. I initially got interested because I just wanted to study the Vijnana Bhairava Tantra and Sanskrit. I was like, I just want to go into that. And what I received really did blow me away. And I'm really grateful to be able to share that they are offering another 200-hour training, which is rare. They don't cycle through a 200-hour very often. So if any of this is of interest to you, the link is up on the screen. It's also in the chat. And you can learn more about what is the Radiance Sutras School of Meditation and the different things that are part of the training. I'd like to thank Lorin and Camille for joining us this afternoon and evening for those of you in Europe. and sharing a little bit of insight and definitely the beauty of meditation.